All right, we live in this incredibly advanced world where machines can do almost anything faster and honestly way more precisely than we ever could. Yet somehow, we still have this deep, almost romantic fascination with things made by human hands. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a specific industry where this exact paradox is incredibly visible and frankly, a little mind-bending. So here's a question for you. Are modern cars still sold as handmade? I mean, really think about it for a second. In an era of robotic arms, artificial intelligence, and massive gigafactories pumping out vehicles literally by the minute, does the human hand actually still have a place on the sales brochure? Is handmade still a genuine selling point when you walk into a dealership today? Well, surprisingly, the short answer is yes. But, as with all great questions, the reality is a little complicated. It's absolutely not the mainstream standard anymore. You aren't going to find this label on the vast majority of vehicles on the road. Instead, the whole concept of a handmade car has retreated into a very specific, highly exclusive, and ultra-high-end niche. And to understand why that happened, we really have to look at how the other 99% of the industry operates. Section 1. The mass production reality. Let's look at ordinary cars today. When we talk about ordinary mass-market cars, the ones most of us actually drive, from massive global brands like Toyota, Volkswagen, or Tesla, the rules are strict, highly technical, and entirely driven by scale. These companies rely entirely on highly automated production lines. Their focus is completely dialed in to just a few core metrics: extreme precision, maximum efficiency, unwavering stability, and of course, driving down the cost of production. To pull that off, the entire process must be perfectly standardized. Every single vehicle that rolls off the line needs to be exactly identical to the one before it. And to do that, you absolutely need machines. Think about it like this. If you were to apply a purely handmade approach to an everyday mass-market car right now, it would actually be a massive negative. For everyday transportation, human hands literally mean worse quality. They mean a higher margin for error, vastly higher costs, and far worse consistency. When you're trying to build millions of cars, human touch is essentially a liability. Automation guarantees efficiency and precision, while handmade practically guarantees inconsistency and errors. So for the everyday vehicle, the handmade label is completely dead. Moving on to Section 2, the luxury exception, supercars and exotics. But step into the exclusive club of supercars, and wow, the rules we just talked about, they completely invert. Look at these absolute titans of the industry: Ferrari, Lamborghini, Aston Martin, Bentley, Bugatti, Pagani. In this incredibly rarefied air, the situation is the exact opposite of the mass market. For these elite brands, massive amounts of manual labor are heavily involved, and more importantly, they loudly and proudly use handmade as a core fundamental selling point. 16 to 20. That is the number of weeks it takes to build a single Bentley. Just let that time frame sink in for a moment. While an automated factory might push out a finished car every few seconds, a Bentley sits in production for up to 20 weeks. Brands like Pagani produce an incredibly tiny number of cars per year, leaning heavily on the sheer time and painstaking manual effort it takes to craft them. They are selling extreme scarcity. In this world, low production volumes are a feature, not a bug. So in this ultra-high-end tier, handmade basically equals luxury, scarcity, and art. Having a high degree of manual labor allows for something robots really struggle with, which is extreme bespoke customization. It means a buyer can dictate the exact unique colors, the specific premium materials, and even the precise type of stitching used in the cabin. The car completely ceases to be just a mode of transportation. It becomes a highly customized art piece. All right, Section 3, the pure handmade myth. Fact versus fiction. Now, before we get too carried away with this romantic vision of artisans shaping a car completely from scratch, here is the blunt truth. Almost no modern car is 100% handmade. It's simply a myth. The idea of a fully handmade modern vehicle built entirely by human hands from the ground up just does not exist in today's world. And there's a very rigid technological reason for this. Let's look at what we call the machine core, the absolute heart of any vehicle. The engine and the gearbox, or transmission, must be manufactured by machines. These are incredibly complex pieces of engineering that require high-precision machine tooling. The tolerances required for a modern high-performance engine to operate safely and effectively at extreme speeds, they're microscopic. Human hands, no matter how ridiculously skilled, simply cannot meet those precision requirements. The core components absolutely rely on advanced machine manufacturing. So you might be wondering, what do these elite brands actually mean when they slap that handmade label on a car today? Well, the reality is defined by a few specific areas. It means manual assembly of the vehicle. It means handcrafted interiors where real artisans work with leathers, woods, and fabrics. And it means meticulous detail polishing and finishing by hand. That's the true definition of a modern handmade car. It's essentially a combination of a machine-perfected core wrapped inside a beautiful human-crafted shell. Section 4, Selling, Scarcity, and Story. Let's dive into the psychology. If these cars aren't even truly 100% handmade, why does a label still have such unbelievable power over billionaires? Well, it all comes down to a concept called anti-industrialization. In a world where everything is mass-produced by robots, perfection has actually become cheap. Automation is everywhere. Therefore, the absolute ultimate flex for a buyer is to reject that automated mass production. They're specifically paying a massive premium for a value that represents a unique, human-crafted status. They want to escape the uniformity of the modern factory. There's just this massive divide in value perception here. For the general public, automation equals a readily accessible commodity. But for the elite, handmade equals a unique status symbol. It's exactly the same psychological principle you see in the high-end fashion world. Think about a luxury handmade handbag or haute couture clothing. You aren't just buying the materials to carry your wallet or keep you warm. You are paying for the exclusivity of the human effort it took to make it. Ultimately, these ultra-luxury car brands are selling scarcity and story, not just a physical product. That handmade label, it's basically a highly calculated, incredibly powerful brand narrative. It is the ultimate justification for those massive price premiums. You're buying the story of the artisan, the weeks of labor, the bespoke customization, and the fact that very, very few other people on Earth will ever own something exactly like it. So to put this all into perspective, the automotive industry today is fundamentally split into two entirely distinct tiers. On one side, ordinary cars focus on tech, efficiency, and smart features. Their main selling point is mass market utility. On the exact opposite side, supercars and luxury vehicles focus on being handmade, extreme customization, and status. Their selling point is exclusive luxury. As we wrap up our explainer today, I really want to leave you with this core quote directly from our source material. Handmade has shifted from an industrial standard to a luxury label. Manual labor didn't just disappear from the automotive world, it just moved up market. It evolved from being the absolute only way to build a car into becoming the absolute most expensive way to sell one. Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought. In an age of perfect machines, will human imperfection always be our ultimate luxury? As automation continues to get smarter, faster, and more flawless, maybe the only true luxury left is the knowledge that another human being took the time to build something just for you. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time as we dive into another fascinating topic.